You spend hours studying something new, feel like you've learned it, and a week later, it's gone. I used to do this all the time. I'd read an entire book, highlight half of it, and then I couldn't remember a single useful thing when I actually needed it. The problem wasn't my memory. The problem was I was studying wrong. And in this video, I'm going to break down 6 study exercises I use to actually make what I learned stick. Not just for a test, but for life. And if you've ever felt like you're learning the same thing over and over because nothing sticks, this video is for you. But before we get into the exercises, you need to understand why you're forgetting in the first place. And exercise number 1 completely changed how I think about learning. I used to read books on learning and productivity, highlight the important parts, close the book, and then do nothing different. I go right back to studying the same way I always had. Then I read Make It Stick, a book literally about how we learn, and I realized I was doing it all wrong. The book laid out all these evidence-based techniques for effective learning, and I thought, this is great information. But here's the thing. Knowing about effective learning techniques and actually using them are 2 completely different things. I could tell you what active recall was, but I wasn't doing it. And if I wasn't applying what I just learned about learning itself, what chance did I have with everything else? Reading isn't learning. Application is. This is called active recall. It's the process of forcing your brain to retrieve information from memory instead of just passively reviewing it. Your brain is lazy. It doesn't waste energy storing things you don't use. But when you force yourself to pull information out of memory and apply it, you're telling your brain, hey, this matters. Keep this. The act of retrieval strengthens the memory pathway. Studies show that students who actually test themselves retain significantly more than those who just reread their notes. Here's what I did. The moment I finished Make It Stick, I didn't just move on to the next book. I immediately started changing how I studied everything else. Instead of just rereading my notes, I started testing myself. Instead of highlighting passively, I started forcing myself to recall and apply what I was learning. The book taught me the techniques, but I had to actually use them to see the difference. And that's when everything changed. Whatever you're learning right now, don't just consume it. Close the book, close the video, and immediately try to use it. Apply one concept today in your actual life. That's how it moves from information to knowledge. Now, applying something once is great, but your brain forgets fast. That's where exercise number 2 comes in, and this one's a game changer for long-term retention. I used to think flashcards were for kids memorizing vocabulary in school. I'm an adult, I'm learning complex ideas. Flashcards felt too simple, so I'd cram everything into one big study session and feel accomplished. A month later, gone, all of it. I was fighting against how my brain actually works. There's something called the forgetting curve. You lose most of what you learn within days if you don't review it. One intense study session doesn't beat biology. Your brain needs reminders over time, not one heroic effort. This is spaced repetition, reviewing information at increasing intervals over time so it moves into long-term memory. Your brain encodes information better in short, repeated sessions rather than one marathon cram. When you space out your reviews, you're interrupting that forgetting curve right before you lose the information. Research on medical residents showed that those who spaced their practice over 4 weeks performed significantly better than those who crammed it all in one day. Here's my system. I use ChatGPT or Claude to create flashcards from whatever I'm learning. Could be a book, an article, a course. I load those cards into an app called Anki, and it automatically schedules when I need to review them. I'm not designing some complex system. The AI builds the cards, Anki handles the timing. I just show up for 10 to 15 minutes a day. So the next time you finish learning something, ask ChatGPT to create 10 to 15 flashcards on the core concepts. Put them into Anki or even just a note on your phone and review them tomorrow. Then 3 days later, then a week later. That's it. But here's the thing. You can memorize information all day, but if you don't actually understand it, you'll never be able to use it. That's where exercise number 3 forces you to go deeper. I thought I understood a concept until I tried to explain it to someone. I'm talking, I'm gesturing, and then I hit this wall where I realize I actually have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just repeating words I read somewhere. It was embarrassing. You can fool yourself into thinking you understand something by nodding along while you read. But the moment you try to teach it, all your gaps get exposed. I think it was Naval who said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. This is the Feynman technique. Explaining a concept in simple terms as if you're teaching it to someone who knows nothing about it. When you're forced to teach something, your brain has to organize the information into a logical, coherent structure. You can't just regurgitate. You have to actually think. Research shows that students who are told they'll need to teach material perform significantly better because their brains prepare differently. They look for connections, they simplify, they find the core idea. For me, this happens in my YouTube videos. I take what I've learned, apply it in my life, and then I explain the lesson here. If I can't make it clear in a video, I don't actually get it yet. But you don't need a YouTube channel. After you learn something, explain it out loud, record a voice memo, tell a friend or a family member. If you stumble, that's not failure. That's you finding exactly where you need to go back and learn deeper. So pick one concept you're learning right now and try to explain it to someone, or even just to yourself, without looking at your notes. Where you get stuck is where you need to focus. Now, this next one feels wrong at first. Your brain is going to resist it, but that discomfort, that's exactly how you know it's working. I used to block my learning. I'd spend a whole week on business strategies, then switch to philosophy for a week, then psychology the next week, and it felt organized. It felt efficient. But when I needed to actually use that knowledge, I couldn't pull it up fast enough or connect ideas across topics. The problem was my brain was too comfortable. When you study one thing over and over in a block, it feels easy, but that ease is a trap. You're not actually strengthening the memory. You're just getting good at the repetition in that moment. If it feels too easy, you're probably not learning as deeply as you think. This is interleaving, mixing different topics or concepts in a single study session instead of blocking them. When you interleave, you force your brain to constantly retrieve and distinguish between concepts. You temporarily forget, then have to pull it back up. That struggle is what strengthens the memory. Studies show that interleaving leads to better long-term retention than block practice, even though it feels harder in the moment. Now I mix my learning. In one session, I might study business strategy, then switch to a chapter on habit formation, then look at something about communication. It feels messy, it feels less productive, but my knowledge is way stickier. So next time you sit down to learn, don't just focus on one topic for an hour. Mix it up. Spend 20 minutes on one thing, switch to something related but different, then come back. Embrace the productive struggle. Okay, so you're applying what you learned, spacing it out, teaching it, mixing topics. But here's where most people mess up the foundation. If you don't do this right from the beginning, everything else becomes harder. For years, I took notes like I was transcribing a lecture. Bullet points, sentences copied straight from the book, pages and pages of notes. And then I never look at them again because they were just words on a page. They didn't mean anything. I was treating my brain like a hard drive. Just dump information in and hope it stays there. But that's not how memory works. Your brain doesn't store isolated facts. It stores networks, connections, relationships between ideas. Your brain doesn't remember bullet points. It remembers connections. This is encoding and conceptual mapping, the process of organizing information in a way that mirrors how your brain naturally works. Encoding is the first step of memory formation. If you encode poorly, just copying words passively, you'll need way more repetition later to make it stick. But if you encode well by making connections, grouping ideas, and finding relationships, the information goes deeper from the start. Mapping forces you to think about how concepts link together to form a bigger picture, which is essential for complex problem solving. I use a tool called Obsidian to connect my notes. When I'm learning something, I'm constantly asking, how does this relate to what I already know? What's the bigger principle here? I also draw mind maps, literally drawing out how ideas connect. It looks messy, but that's the point. I'm encoding the way my brain actually works. So the next time you take notes, don't just write down what you read. Draw it, map it. Ask yourself, what does this connect to? What's the core idea? Even if it's just a rough sketch on paper, that process makes the knowledge yours. Now here's what happened to me after learning all these techniques. And this is probably going to happen to you too. After I learned all these ways to improve my studying, something weird happened. Studying became overwhelming. Every time I picked up a new book, I'd think, okay, I need to apply active recall. Space it out, create flashcards, teach it, interleave it, map it all out. And I'd just freeze. I was so focused on doing it perfectly that I wasn't doing it at all. I fell into analysis paralysis. I had all the tools, but I was paralyzed by trying to use all of them perfectly every single time. My list of things to study kept growing, and I felt more stuck than before I learned any of this. There's no perfect way to remember everything all the time. That's what makes you human. This is momentum through microstarts. The idea that starting small and imperfectly beats not starting at all. Your brain responds to momentum, not perfection. When you start, even with just 1 minute, you often find yourself in flow and naturally continue. The hardest part is always the first step. Research on habit formation shows that reducing friction and starting with tiny actions is far more effective than grand plans that never happen. As you revisit information over time, even imperfectly, that knowledge gets stickier. So here's what I do now. If I'm feeling overwhelmed about studying something, I commit to just 1 minute. That's it. Just show up for 60 seconds. What usually happens? I get into flow and I keep going. But even if I don't, even if it's just that 1 minute, I've built momentum. I've kept the habit alive. So the next time you sit down to study and feel overwhelmed, set a timer for 1 minute. Tell yourself that's all you have to do. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Momentum beats perfection every single time. Pick one of these exercises. Do it badly. Do it for just 1 minute and just start. If you're tired of not reaching your self-education learning goals and you're ready to solve this with focused one-on-one attention, I have something special for you. I'm running a free 5-day tiny challenge where we work together one-on-one to make real progress on this specific problem in less than a week. Because this is a highly customized one-on-one experience where I commit my time directly to you, I'm only accepting 3 people for this initial challenge right now to ensure the highest quality. If you want one of these limited spots, click the link down in the description below and fill out the short, simple form. It should take less than 60 seconds. Once you submit the form, expect a personalized follow-up email in your inbox in less than 24 hours to set up our first call. Remember, because the tiny challenge is one-on-one, there is no set launch date. We can schedule the calls at a time that works for both of us, making sure we get a 100% show rate. Click that link now and let's get you started on solving your self-education plan this week. And if you want to take your reading to the next level, you're going to want to watch this video next. Keep learning, keep growing, keep going, and I'll see you in the next one.